If you have written spells in a notebook, chances are you have a book of shadows. And if you're like me, in the beginning of my path, these sounded like something sinister, mysterious, downstreet evil. That is not so. And there's so much history behind the Book of Shadow, and that is something that I really want to share with you today. If this is something that interests you, then follow me. We're going to get into it right now. Hi witches, blessed be. This is WhiteRaven over here. Today's Monday, so happy Magic Monday to all of you guys. How are you pretties? Oh my goodness, I've been doing the research for this video for so many days now, and I've been like legit. In Spanish we say quemándome las pestañas, like burning my eyelashes. And that means that I haven't been sleeping because I've been trying to do research for you guys. Again, this is not going to be a long video, but if you're new to this channel, I welcome you, witch. My name is WhiteRaven, and I am here to teach you basics on witchcraft. So if this is something that really interests you, please make sure to subscribe to my video and hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every week. Again, this is going to be a teaching video, not a spell, but if you stay with me on Thursday, I'm going to have something for you just to make up, because I really like to show you videos on spells. That's my basic here. That's my bread and butter, right? So let's talk about Book of Shadows. These books that I have over here are some of the books that I use for my resources, which takes me, please make sure you hit the title of my video. When you touch the title of my video, the description of the video is going to open, and all these books are going to be linked in there, and some other resources that I use for the video today. Many times I tell you guys that all the information is in the description of the video, and I still get emails asking me for things that I already put in there. It makes me feel really bad that you have to wait for me to answer you, when in reality all that information is at the tip of your fingers. So touch the title of the video to get the description of the video. Okay, done. Book of Shadows. Wow, guys. So forever, for centuries, we have magical books left and right. They're everywhere. And as far as 5,000 years ago, we knew that there were books in Egypt. 3,000 years ago, a report was made that Egyptians had 42 books on magic. These were books that were held in temples, and they said they were written by Hermes or Thoth, the god of wisdom. Now these books contain magic on spells, dull magic, how to talk to the dead, how to initiate people like priestesses and priests, astrology, ancestors, like pretty much everything we have in our magical books nowadays. So they already had that in Egypt back 5,000 years ago. Okay, now it is very important to note that the collection of this magic was just not the work of just one civilization, but the mix of peoples that collided in Egypt for whatever reason, many different reasons. So chances are, guys, that the magic that you and I practice today, it is a mix of all these different cultures and people that one day everything got mixed up in Egypt. How wonderful is that, guys? I'm going to share with you some of the definitions that I have, and I promise you it's going to be short. It's going to be only 4. I did not find the definition of Book of Shadows in the Webster Dictionary or in the Oxford Dictionary. Could not find it. If you find something in a dictionary for me and you want to share, if it's different from what I'm going to say right now, please make sure you share with me. So the first definition came from this book, the Encyclopedia of Witches and Witchcraft. And this is why Rosemary Ellen Guiley says, a book of shadow reflects the practice and beliefs of each individual coven and the interests or specialties of the individual witch. That's what Mary Ellen Guiley says about the Book of Shadows. Now, I tried to look in here because this is Buckland Complete Book of Witchcraft, and Buckland is like the father of the person that originated Wicca in the United States. So I look in his book, and to be honest with you, I found some good information, but not like, oh wow, that's a lot of information. That's really interesting. So it's right here, and I'm going to read to you what he said about the Book of Shadow. So according to Buckland, a Book of Shadow is a book with coven rituals written down. And that's what he said. Now, obviously, I kept on researching and researching. I also went to WhiteRaven Wolf Book of Shadow for the Solitary Witch for the new generation. And WhiteRaven has a lot of information. It's great. Another book that I also looked and was The Triumph of the Moon. Now, let's see what Wikipedia says about a Book of Shadow. A Book of Shadow is a book containing religious texts and instructions for magical rituals found within the neo-pagan religion of Wicca. And so that's what I found in Wikipedia. Now, I'm going to share with you the definition that I like the most, okay? And like a lot. And it's from my beloved. I just cannot tell you. You know what? I'm really happy that I live in a world that Judica is living as well. Let me read it from here. Let me go to the part in which she talks about the Book of Shadows. And let me tell you what she says in her encyclopedia. So according to Judica Edlis, a Book of Shadows is a book of spells or rituals copied by hand. I love that. That's the definition I'm going to stick with. And as you can tell, the name Book of Shadows is completely linked to Wicca. Let's dig in and let's see why. So as you can see, the Book of Shadows, the term Book of Shadow is very linked to Wicca. So let's see how this came about. Throughout the centuries, guys, magic has been something shared from generation to generation as word of mouth. You follow me? So this was something that was not written. These were traditions and things that were taught by parents to children, grandmas to grandkids, friends to friends, throughout generations and throughout centuries. WhiteRaven Wolf, in her book, The Book of Shadow for the Solitary Witch, she even speaks about something called mystery schools, which were groups of people who would gather together as a kind of teacher-student environment, and they will teach each other spells and the rituals. Now, by the time the prosecution time came about, and the time of the Inquisition, all these families, all these groups, all these mystery schools were broken up. And many people, fearing that all these traditions and all these spells and all these rituals were going to be lost, the few people that knew how to write, because not everybody knew how to write back in that time, starting recording the things that they have learned throughout their lives. Needless to say, these books were extremely hidden and hush-hush. Now, centuries after, let's just move a little bit. Let's just move along because there's so much to talk about. In 1939, a man with the name of Gerald Gardner was initiated in the New Forest Coven back in England. At the time of his initiation, he received from the hands of the witches of the coven a book that was fragmented, meaning it was a book that was pieces missing. It was not a complete book from beginning to end. It was a book that was just a compilation of all of these books that at the time of the prosecution and the Inquisition were written. So Gardner decided to add his own stuff into the book. And by adding his own stuff to the book, he also added some rituals from Aleister Crowley, some rituals from the Freemasons, some rituals from the Key of Solomon into this book. Now, according to Doreen Valiente, which was his high priestess in his coven at the time, Garnet got interested and got the idea of the name because he read an article of an old magical Sanskrit called The Book of Shadows. Taking like of the name, he decided to name his book Book of Shadows, and boom, hence the birth of the name of the Book of Shadows. Still, guys, this is history. None of us were there. So there's still some debate about many things. So I suggest for you to read some of the resources that I'm going to list down in the description of the video. Make your own conclusions. I tend to believe the story of the Book of Shadows, but you know what? Regardless if this book is linked or not to Wicca, it doesn't really make any difference to me. Why do I make this video? Why do I make this video? Well, number one, because I want you to know a little bit of the history of why this is called a Book of Shadow. And number two, because I think this book deserved a lot more reverence than what I've seen lately. Because to me, the Book of Shadows has a lot of history within its pages. Now, this is my Book of Shadows. These are my Book of Shadows. I have different type of Book of Shadows. This is another Book of Shadows. I have shared this one with you. This is my oldest one. You have this one. You have this one. And I have many more in another part of the house because I have Book of Shadows everywhere. And these books, guys, nowadays are full with prints. As you can see, they're different colors. This one looks kind of even scary. It has like a dragon's eye in the front. But understand, guys, that back in the day, these books were actually bound in black because they needed to be in high secrecy. Because if you were found with these books, you were going to pay with your life. So because of people that died centuries ago, these people paved our road for me to be here today before you guys in front of this camera and openly talking about me being a witch, proud and loud. And I'm able to have a Book of Shadows that looks like this, or if I want to have a ginormous big pentacle on my book with images of Baphomet, I still can have it and nobody can do anything about it. Whenever you are writing in your Book of Shadows, take a second, honor and acknowledge the people that die and pay with their lives for you to be here today, able to write in your Book of Shadows. This is a sacred tool of the witch, and it's going to be pretty much your journal. It's going to be your history throughout your growth into the witchcraft path. In reality, many people pay with their lives in order for us to be here today. Now I'm going to share with you some folk and some things they say about the Book of Shadows. So I hope you find this interesting. Number 1, the Book of Shadows should be and remain a secret within a coven. If this is a book that actually is going to have the covenant rituals and their laws and anything that pertains to that covenant, I totally understand that. I don't think that's folk and I don't think that's lore. I think that's probably very right. Again, I don't belong to any Wiccan coven. I am no Wiccan, but I'm pretty sure that that is probably true. Number 2, the book must be burned when the witch dies. I don't think that's something that many people follow nowadays. I think like right now, the Book of Shadows of Scott Cunningham was actually published after he died. It was papers that were found in his attic, I think it was, and somebody did a compilation of all these papers and they published the book, and I'll put a picture of that book over here for you guys. So I don't think that's followed too much nowadays. Number 3, the Book of Shadow is magical in itself. I truly believe that, guys. I'm pretty sure that if I pass away and in 10 years somebody find my Book of Shadows, I'm pretty sure my Book of Shadows is going to have a lot of my energy into it. Number 4, the Book of Shadow needs to be completely black and buried. Now, I understand that probably some centuries ago that was the case, and it was for obvious reasons. You needed to keep your book extremely hidden and in high secrecy, because if you will find with a Book of Shadows, you were gonna burn along with your book. Number 5, your Book of Shadows must stay in the shadows. Again, I think that pertains to number 4. I truly believe that your Book of Shadows should be something that stays in your witch room or close to your altar. What I'm saying is that we should not be having our books all over the place. Number 6, your Book of Shadow must be handwritten. I'm pretty sure back in the day, that was the only way to write a Book of Shadows. There were no printings. Nowadays, again, I write on my book, I draw on my book, I utilize stickers. I love stickers. I also print information from the internet. I really do. And I use it as reference. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do. If you want to copy articles that you found on the internet and you want to copy them all in your Book of Shadows, by all means, do it. I think I'm going to do both. That's what I like to do. And I truly enjoy it. Number 7, nobody can touch your Book of Shadows. Exactly. Hell right. Yeah, nobody's gonna be touching your Book of Shadows. Your Book of Shadows is yours. It's your energy. It's your magic. Don't let anybody touch your book. It's yours and nobody but yours. Number 8 is demonic in nature. I don't think so. And this is something that is going to be topic for a whole nother video, okay guys? I really think that a lot of people make a Book of Shadow with a grimoire. I don't think neither one of them are bad. These books are going to be what we make with them. That's the bottom line. To me, grimoires and Book of Shadows are two things completely different. Some other people think that they're the same thing. And I understand what people think one way or the other. I prefer to think that a grimoire is different than a book of shadows. No, I'm just gonna leave this here. But if I die today and in 100 years somebody find my book and they use the spells in there for them and they follow my rituals for them, then my book will be used as a grimoire. Maybe we'll talk about grimoire some other time, okay? Number 9 is the same thing as a grimoire. And again, I just explained myself when it comes to the grimoires. No, I don't think it's the same at all, but that's okay if you think it is. Number 10 is connected to the black book that witches signed, that pact with the devil, that pact with all black Philip. No, I need to research where that story came from. I may research the story and I'll share it with you guys in another video, but no, they have nothing to do with the book of Satan that we sign when we become witches. Listen guys, I'm gonna leave with this. In the Inquisition time and back in the persecution time, the Catholic Church needed power, needed money, needed property. So a lot of innocent people were killed, burned at the stake on the claims that they were witches. Back in that time, the persecution time and the Inquisition time, a lot of terms and a lot of things were invented by Catholics inquisitors just to describe things that weren't happening, and so they could be able to prosecute people under the accusation of being witches. There's many words that were created at the time. Books were a big deal. Good luck to you if you were found with any type of books in your home. So I'm going to leave it there. What I'm trying to say with all this, words like familiar, words like Sabbath, words like grimoire have a lot of connotation. Words like Book of Shadows have a lot of connotations and have a lot of history behind it. There are many things that we need to put our effort and study. So if you want to be a successful witch, you don't only want to learn the magical part of it, but also the academic part of it. This is my little 10 cents trying to help out in you learning a little bit and maybe igniting some kind of curiosity so you can keep on doing your research. Please email me at layerofthewitch@yahoo.com, layerofthewitch@yahoo.com. I'm going to put everything that we talk about today in my website, WhiteRaven and Witch's Lair. WhiteRaven and Witch's Lair. I'm probably not going to put it today because it's going to take me some time for me to edit this properly so you guys can understand and I make sense of myself. And I also want to share something with you that is making me super happy. My abramelin oil, my holy oil, is going to be 6 weeks tomorrow, which means I can strain it and bottle this up. This is probably, my beautiful witches, the first thing that I'm gonna have for sale on my website. You guys have been part of the creation of this oil and I am extremely happy to share this with you. It is always awesome talking to you witches. You must be smart, but above all, you need to stay what? Wicked. Till next time. Bye.